Peace. All praise and glory to the Supreme Spirit of Truth, the living one, the authority, the author that writes all things in place. How is everyone doing? I'm telling you, man, my lungs are giving out on me. All that freaking crack and cigarettes and marijuana I smoked all my life for 40 years, man. I feel it now. Don't smoke, kids. That's all I can say. If they're still showing you those types of videos inside of school, the effects of people after they've smoked for years and years and years, it's true. Don't smoke. Your lungs weren't meant to smoke. So anyways, we're here at Joshua, chapter 5. Now when all the Amorite kings west of Jordan and all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan before the Israelites until they had crossed over, their hearts melted in fear, and they no longer had the courage to face the Israelites. Circumcision and Passover at Gilgal. At that time the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibbeth Haraloth. Now this is why he did so. All those who came out of Egypt, all of the men of military age, died in the wilderness on the way after leaving Egypt. All the people that come out had been circumcised, but all the people born in the wilderness during the journey from Egypt had not. The Israelites had moved about in the wilderness 40 years until all the men who were of military age when they left Egypt had died, since they had not obeyed the Lord. For the Lord had sworn to them that they would see the land he had solemnly promised their ancestors to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Again, folks, America here is supposed to be the land of flowing with milk and honey too. Just throwing that out there. So he raised up their sons in their place, and these were the ones Joshua circumcised. They were still uncircumcised because they had not been circumcised on the way. And after the whole nation had been circumcised, they remained where they were in camp until they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you, so that the place has been called Gilgal to this day." On the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. The day after the Passover, that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped the day after they ate this food from the land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites, but that year they ate the produce of Canaan. The fall of Jericho. Now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Well, as you read this Bible, and you start recognizing that these gods that we're talking about in these Bibles have always been men who have placed themselves in a God position. And what everybody needs to understand is the supreme creator is a spirit. And the Bible does tell us straight up that here, Numbers chapter 23:19, God is not a man. God is not a man. And I said this the other day, and it's never said anywhere in the Bible that God isn't a woman. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying that God is a woman. I'm just saying that the Bible's telling us that God isn't a man. The Bible tells us that God is spirit, and that those that worship him must worship in spirit and truth. It has to be the truth, okay? If one God, is Yahweh, has told Israel that they aren't to participate in the pagan ways, this is what you got to understand, is Satan has made it all think that we've all a one race. See, we're not all one race. I used to have confusion when I was teaching and say, well, how could God be one God and then there be multiple gods? It just never made sense to me. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, Bible Hub. So this God here, Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heaven and earth. This God here is Elohim. And Elohim is plural of Eloah. And all of the Elohim are plural of Eloah. Who is Eloah? So when we say who's the God Eloah, it says subject verse is Elohim. Elohim, the singular noun, is Eloah. Eloah, which is believed to be an extended form of another Hebrew word for God. So we have multiple gods. So this God here, Elohim, in the beginning, something used of a supreme creator, created the heaven and earth. Because the creator's spirit, he stands outside of time, space, and matter. So, but he gave permission. He permitted something. He used these gods, Elohim, many gods, mankind, created in the heaven and the earth, time, space, matter, coming into existence. The beginning is the beginning of the fall. The beginning is the God Kronos. Kronos is the God of time. In the beginning, God created Elohim. See, Elohim are plural of gods. We gotta make sense of these gods' names, because these gods do have names. As mythology tells us, we have a sky god, an air god, god of fire, god of water, all these different gods. Poseidon and Zeus and Hermes and all these other Greek gods that were written into the mythology end of it. The McCracken, these other gods. So the Supreme Spirit is just that. God spelled backwards is dogs, and that's what happens to us when we fall into the flesh if we don't keep ourselves in check. You have to keep your own soul in check. There's nobody on this plane of existence that's looking out for your soul, that's teaching you about the truth of your Bible. I am. I'm desperately loving people who want to serve the Spirit of truth. So, when it says now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, darkness here is figuratively misery. And that's because this is the beginning. In the beginning is the beginning of the fall. So when we're talking about darkness was over the surface of the deep, we're talking about the abyss here. All right? And it's the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. The Spirit of this God is Elohim again. This is not the Supreme Spirit. It's something that was used of the Supreme Spirit. So the Spirit of God, this Spirit of God, which is from Chayok, is the breath, wind, spirit. which is a resemblance of the breath. This is the Spirit which gives life. Okay? But of this God that's hovering over the surface, the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, the surface of the water. Understand that there are other gods. If there were not other gods, Exodus chapter 20, verse 4, Bible Hub, you shall not make for yourself an idol or the likeness of anything in the heavens above, the earth below, the waters beneath the earth. You should not bow down before them or serve them. So the Spirit of God, I'm sorry, that wasn't the parable I was looking for. It was this one here. And God spoke all these words, and I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. Now, the atheist argument here is that this God here is an evil God, but what the atheists don't understand is that they're the evil. This God Yahweh, the Israelite God, let's say, I don't even know that. I'm just say the children of God. The supreme Spirit of truth, the living one, the one that gives the breath of life. Okay? Because you got to remember that something was of darkness that was also permitted, and it was capable of giving the breath of life as well, too. Revelations 13:15 Bible Hub. So something here, the second beast was permitted to breathe into the image of the first beast so that the image could speak and cause all who refused to worship it to be killed. The second beast was permitted to give breath. So now this confirms that here God is used. Everything is to the glory of the Spirit that keeps all things in motion. It is His power and His alone power and glory that does all things. Look at that. 66 Bible cheat sheets. 66? Oh no, 66 books. How did we get to 66 books on the sixth day of creation? Yeah, anyways, I'm going to keep this one short. All praise and glory to the Supreme Spirit. I hope you like it, man. Hit this like button. And all praise and glory to the Supreme Spirit of truth, the living one. This is White Raptor News Ministries.